All this week at Mass we've been reading from the Jewish scriptures what Moses said to the Jews as they were poised to enter the promised land after their long journey from Egypt. Our first reading today is another reading from the Jewish scriptures about the prophet Jeremiah. Now, these readings touch on some sensitive issues we're facing today in our society, so let me comment on them. In a reading last week, Moses had some hard things to say to his people as they were entering the promised land. He's not easy on them. He knows them very well. In fact, he calls them a stiff-necked people. You're a stiff-necked people. That's not a term we use today. But as far as I can figure, stiff-necked is a way of saying that you only look things at one way, your way. You don't look left, you don't look right, and you don't look up either, or down. So Moses says to them, look up to the heavens and look down on the earth. They belong to God, and He lets you use this world for a little while. They're God's gifts. Don't be stiff-necked. Keep looking at them. Use the gifts God gives you as God would use them, Moses says. You can be too partial to your own interests, looking out just for yourselves. So keep your eyes on the widows and the orphans, on the poor. That's what God does. God sees the alien, Moses says, the stranger, the immigrant, and feeds and clothes him. So you too must befriend the alien, for you were once alien yourselves in the land of Egypt. They're sensitive issues today, aren't they? How we treat the poor, how we treat the immigrant. And these aren't easy issues to deal with, but they're harder to deal with when you're stiff-necked, when you can't look at the complexity of these issues. When you don't look to the left or to the right or up or down. You won't make the land you're entering the promised land if you're stiff-necked, Moses says to his people. I wonder if we've become stiff-necked ourselves today. We're not looking much at other people's interests or point of view. We're not working together, it seems. We're not looking up either, as much as we should. We're not looking down either at the world that's changing before our eyes. So being stiff-necked won't make this world what it's promised to be. Today we're also reading from the Jewish scriptures about Jeremiah, a prophet who offers another insight into our situation today, I think. Jeremiah was a lonely prophet who had the misfortune of being born at a time when people weren't interested in having the wisdom of their society questioned, especially by a religious person. So they buried Jeremiah in a deep pit where no one could hear him, and eventually they hoped he would die. Now Jeremiah complains to God repeatedly that no one's listening to him. And as I look at society today, it seems to me that the religious voice, the voice of the Jewish scriptures, the voice of Moses and Jeremiah, the voice of Jesus and the church he founded, is less and less listened to. The religious voice is too old to make any sense today. It's out of step, some say. So bury it and let it die. But that would be a big mistake. The religious voices need it more than ever, so let's not lose it. It gets us to the promised land and the promised life. If we listen to the gospel, Jesus never promises acceptance, that everyone would hear him. He wasn't interested in acceptance. He was interested in the truth. And I hope we are too.